starring Chris Jacobs and Carlos Kopszywa.
All right, welcome everybody back to episode 13. Yep, 13 of the Just One More podcast.
13.
And listen, we've been slacking a little bit. We recorded a big podcast last month with regards to, was it last month or in September?
No, it was last month.
Yeah,
It was early last month.
With
It's been about a month.
with our broker going over the NAR lawsuit. We had a ton of technical difficulties with it, audio and stuff like that, but we did just drop it today on all of our socials. So make sure you go check that out. It's really, really good information. And I think it really touches on a lot of the questions that agents in general have on the NAR lawsuit, how it's going to impact us, how it already is impacting us. And I think it's a very important discussion about what to expect moving forward. With that being said, we're going to do a little bit of follow-up, talk about a few things today, and lay out kind of what happened the last couple of days. Kind of an important week, I guess.
What happened this week?
Well, I think Cowboys pretty much ruled out of the playoffs.
Oh, football season is going on right now?
Football season.
Oh,
yeah.
shit.
Anywho, so NAR lawsuit. So not much has changed. There's been some language, there's some contracts that have changed. But what are you seeing so far impactually on the buyers and sellers side so far into this new change?
So ultimately, I haven't seen a huge difference. I think a lot of people don't really inform themselves on this information. A lot of people, they buy a house every 5 to 7 years. So they're not doing a whole lot of research. I feel like some of them that do the research on the buyer side, they're just curious. Like, do I have to pay a real estate agent now? Is it going to cost me way more to buy a house? Are sellers paying commission, or is that something that I have to pay out of pocket? Ultimately, I show a lot of houses. In the last 2 months, I've maybe seen 2 that were not offering commission. And with that house, we kept an eye on it because most of the buyers that I talk with are like, I don't want to pay commission. I don't have to. I'll just go look at another house. So I feel like those houses that are not paying commission are not really getting the showings that other houses are getting. Ultimately, I feel like they're going to lose a lot more money by not paying commission than they would if they just paid the commission. It's just like it has been in the past. Like when people wanted a discount realtor, they're going to get far less. Or if they wanted to sell it on their own, they're going to get far less. And I don't see any changes with that. What about you on the seller side?
Nothing. I've asked a couple of questions, but once you kind of break it down and explain to them the ramifications, it's pretty clear. And then it's always been a negotiation, so I think it's pretty easy to explain it and break it down. What I'm seeing more so, I think, falls on the brokerage level, which this is disgusting because I'm seeing this more frequently where if you're a listing agent or if you're a buyer's agent, you're representing a buyer. We've had some questions pop up in our company chat about listing agents, brokers asking for buyer's representation agreements. So I've actually had several conversations about this with my attorney, with our broker, all that. That is a private contract between the buyer and the buyer's agent. The seller's agent and the seller's broker is not privy to that information. They are not entitled to get that. There is no rule saying they have to see it. And I know what they're doing. They're trying to see what the agreement is between the buyer and the buyer's agent, what the buyer's willing to pay to then determine if they're going to offer compensation, which is shit. Like, that's just not how it works. That is a private contract. They are not privy to that. So do not disclose that if you don't want to. And not to mention, it's not your call anyways, because it has to be up to the buyer. If you're willing to do it and the buyer's willing to do it, fine, do it. I don't recommend it, but the buyer or the listing agent has no right to that. So just know that moving forward as an agent that you're not privy. That's a private contract. That is a single or 2-party contract between you and the buyer, period, in a discussion. And that's what we're seeing a lot of. I've seen a lot of questions pop up on Slack about it. Had some people call me asking me about it. And it's just like, no, I'm not giving it. And I would never.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that either. And as a real estate agent, our duty is to be a fiduciary for our clients. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure it's always a win-win for everybody. We shouldn't be looking to see what their buyers paying their agent. We just shouldn't be doing that.
The seller's either
Yeah.
offering it or they're not.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like they should offer it,
Yeah.
especially in this economy. Like everything is so much more expensive. You think buyers just have another $5,000-$10,000 just laying around to pay a commission? They don't, especially with what the rates are at and where
I agree.
the economy's at. Like everything's expensive. People have way less money than they did just 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think it's something to keep an eye on as we move forward. But outside of that, I don't see much is changing. The market. I did a speaking engagement at the City View office this morning and just hearing some conversations. And I heard somebody mention, it was a home warranty company was there, mentioned, this is a buyer's market. So I'm not seeing that. I'm still not seeing it being a buyer's market. If your house is priced correctly, it's going to sell. Now, new construction is a little bit different, but with regards to standard, just regular resale homes, I'm going to have my best month ever this month. My sellers.
What'd you get? Like 10, 11, 12?
11 in 10 days.
Oh, that's it? Why didn't you get 12?
Yeah, well, I was a little tired after that. So, and deer season started. So it kind of makes, anyways, but yeah, I mean, I think it's still very much a mixed market, seller and buyer, depending on where you're at, what you have, what you're priced at, things like that. So, I mean, I put 3 buyers under contract. All the houses were on the market for less than, I want to say 12 or 13 days. We were able to get full price, but we got some concessions, so that helped. But it's still a very mixed bag when it comes to the market.
Yeah, I feel like as a real estate agent, we can't just go based off how we feel. The market tells us if it's a buyer's or seller's market, and anything below 6 months of inventory, that's still considered a seller's market.
Very much so.
So we are definitely still technically in a seller's market. It's not the greatest seller's market, but we are in a seller's market. And like you said, as long as people are pricing right, houses will sell.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see some things might change over the next couple of months because as we record this, today is November the 7th, and on Tuesday, former president, now president-elect Donald Trump was elected in a pretty resounding victory.
I'll say it wasn't just elected; it was
a very big. It
was a landslide.
It was a landslide. And I think there's going to be some ramifications for that for the markets. You saw the stock market went nuts.
Oh yeah,
futures went nuts.
My Dogecoin actually gave me some money back.
Oh my gosh.
I've been in it for like 3 years.
Yeah, we started that path quite a while ago. I cashed out like 4 months ago.
I'm still down $2,000.
Oh yeah, I made a killing off of it. But I think globally, just global markets, national markets, they're responding to it. I don't know what it does to interest rates over the next couple of weeks. I think people have a common misconception because I'm hearing from a lot of buyers and sellers that wanted to wait until after the election. Mm-hmm. So, of course, the election happened. Some of my buyers and sellers came forward. Hey, I'm ready to go. And it's like nothing changed from before the election to now because he doesn't take over until January 20th.
Yeah.
So good or bad or indifferent, nothing's going to change. So it's just something that we're kind of keeping an eye on. I think it will have an impact on the market naturally when an election happens, regardless of the party. You see a run, you see a positivity in the market a little bit until they kind of see what policies are going to be implemented. But I do think it's interesting, the whole dynamic of that election, because you look at how it was run. You look at how Trump ran his platform. You look at how Harris ran her platform. And it's interesting that post-election, after seeing what happened, not just on the real estate side, but just the national conversation, the rhetoric didn't change after you just got smoked from that side of things. It's like, this is what cost you. Now the nation is going to go through an entirely new change 4 years later, yet the rhetoric is still the same. And I just find that very intriguing. It's like, you don't know how hot a stove is, so you put your hand on it, and then you put your hand on it and you say, ouch, that's hot. Do you go right back and put your hand on that hot stove?
Some people do.
That seems to be the growing theme, because the things that I'm seeing, buyers, sellers, social media, like everybody, I don't.
Well, I feel like one of the things that buyers and sellers, because I still have about 7 listings right now. On one of my listings, it's been on the market 6 months almost. And it's on the cheaper side too. It's only like 170,000. That's cheap here in San Antonio. But ultimately, they get an offer on Monday before the election. They were like, "Oh, we're just gonna wait to see what happens before we accept." I'm like, "We've been on the market 6 months, and you want to wait until after the election. The night of the election, the buyers withdrew their offer. Don't wait. Not in this market. You can't play those games.
No. And like I said, I put out a video on social media the other day because I kept hearing this whole housing affordability problem. And it irritates me when I hear that because it's not true. There's not a housing affordability problem. You don't buy real estate to sell it for cheaper than you paid for it.
Yeah.
You buy real estate because
Gonna
it's an appreciating asset. We don't have a housing affordability problem. We have a interest rate problem. We have a government spending problem. So it's interesting because I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, actually a client of mine, that we just closed actually last week and right before Halloween. And he was afraid he had a certain price point. And I said, man, why is that price point so locked in their mind? And he was like, well, because this is the payment that I want to be at. I said, okay. So if I can get you a higher price point with a lower payment or the same payment, would you be interested? Well, no, because it's higher. It's more expensive. I was like, no. The note is 30 years. 30 years is 30 years. Are you in it for the payment or the 30-year list? Or the 30-year?
The total.
Total. He's like, what's the difference? I'm like, well, your interest rate.
Yeah.
Because if I can get more seller concessions from a higher price point home and get that rate down on a permanent buy down and get you the same payment or less, you're getting more home, more bang for your buck. He was like, I didn't think about it that way. So we ran some numbers, upped his price point by like $70,000.
Wow.
Bought his rate down to like 5.4 or something like that, and came in under his monthly budget. And I think buyers need to understand, like, you're not, whether it's a $400,000 house or a $350,000 house, you're still financing it over 30 years or 25 or 20, whatever it is. What's the payment you're looking for? Because if you can get money from the seller concession wise to get a lower interest rate, you could get the same payment on a $400,000 home versus a $350,000 home. So I wish people, agents, and this is on us, would educate their clients more and understand that when you up your price point, you get more. But on top of that, he went into a home that's going to be easier to resell because it's a nicer house and a nicer area that I think fits the resale mode because he is getting out of the military. He says this is a 4 to 5 year home. So find something that's easier to resell.
Yeah.
Something that's going to appreciate a little bit faster. Yeah, you're going to pay a little bit more for it. But if you can get that concession and the payment is the same or less, and it's a newer home than what he would have gotten at the other price point in the areas he was looking at, which means your insurance is cheaper too.
Yeah.
So I wish people would educate people.
Well, it goes back to the agent you work with truly matters because, again, last 5 years, there's so many agents that signed up because you could just open a door and make $10,000 or whatever that may be, but you can't do that anymore. You really got to be a master of your craft and be able to educate buyers and really show them value and save them thousands and thousands of dollars. And a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people just work with an agent. Oh, they've been my friend since high school, blah, 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 blah. Maybe they just sell 1 or 2 houses a year. Like, they're not going to help you save money.
No.
Because they don't know what they're doing.
No.
Like, just because they open a door doesn't mean they know real estate.
Right. What do you think? How did we get here with this current? We're going to talk politics for a little bit. I know this isn't a political podcast, but we're 2 veterans that have experience working under different presidencies, whether it be active duty or whatever it is he did. How did we get here in this hostile climate? Because let's be real here. Let's just be straight up. This hostile climate impacts the markets. It impacts real estate. It impacts who you want to work with. And it's a shame. It's a damn shame that people are disowning friends because of political viewpoints. And it's obviously driven by the media and the platforms. But how did we get here, and how do we move forward with what we have?
So my personal opinion, I don't know if I should give my personal opinion, but I will. I think it all started with Obama. Like, I feel like that's when people really started voting, not based on policies, but based on what person they like better because of their race, their gender. I remember, so when Obama became president, that was like my like year and a half I was in the military. And I remember when he was elected and there were so many people that were like so excited. Oh, we got our first president, first black president. And I, I mean, I don't care either way. Like, but at the end of the day, that's all they cared about. And I think that's where the division started. So people started talking about specifics on gender, race, all that stuff. And I feel like it started to just slowly trickle down with the division. And then after that, you do get someone like Trump, who's like, in my opinion, he's not here to divide. Yeah, he says some stupid stuff. Like, we can all say he says some stupid stuff. But at the end of the day, I feel like at heart, he really has our country's best interest in mind. Like, I really do. But he does say some stupid stuff. We all know that. But I feel like because he said that, and people were so used to Obama more caring for people, being charismatic, and really catering to the people, pretty much winning a popularity contest. Like, people didn't like the turn from a complete 180, so they're voting based on their feelings and stuff like that. And that's the presidency is who's really going to determine where we're at in our economy and our market, everything that we have going on in the U.S. So I really think that, in my opinion, people need to stop voting with their feelings and vote with their minds. I keep saying that, like, on my social media. But what are your thoughts on it?
I think it started before that, and I think it really started with social media engagement.
Very true.
Knowing that hostility,
That was about the same time social media really started.
nerves. Yeah, I mean, you look at going back to MySpace, hostility, nerves, anger, that drives revenue because you're more likely to engage when you're happy. It goes the same analogy for sports. When you're happy and everything's going right, you're less likely to comment on social media because you're like, yeah, what do I need to talk about? Everything's great. Like, oh yeah, go Cowboys. Or
That's why everybody
Go-
always talks about the Cowboys.
yeah. Anyways.
Get to that
But
later.
you don't. I mean, but when you're mad and you're irritated and you're angry and you're anxious, you're more likely to be open about it, more likely to want to say something, get it out there. That's engagement farming. And these media corporations, social media platforms, that's where you make your money. And I think that kind of started it. And because if you go back to like Donald Trump, like I've never been a Donald Trump fan. I think he's a loudmouth. I think he talks too much shit. Like
Yeah.
I'm just not, that's just not my style. And now I do talk a lot of shit and I do troll, but not to that extent. And he's let some things kind of just come out that he shouldn't say anyway.
Oh, yeah.
But if you look at who he was up until 2016, he was a Democrat.
Yeah.
He was one of Oprah's best friends.
Yeah.
He was on The View constantly.
Has a Hillary.
Hillary and Bill Clinton were very, very invested in his foundations. He was very invested in their foundations. But the minute he came out as a Republican, it was like, oh, he's a racist and he's a rapist. And it's like, first of all, half the accusations you throw at him are completely taken out of context and not true. And it's like, okay, you want to call him a racist? But give me some better evidence other than some out of context things that he said that people have posted on social media that if you go back and listen to, it's like, oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But they've all said it. They've all said it and done it. I mean, Joe Biden did it. Kamala Harris did
Joe
it.
Biden's was way
Hillary
worse.
Clinton, way worse. Hillary Clinton did it. Barack Obama did it. George H.W. Bush did it. They all did it. George W. Bush did it. You go on and on and on. But then you didn't have the social media presence.
Mhm.
You didn't have the 24-hour news cycle on a constant high alert to get the hottest and worst takes out.
People weren't watching CNN. They weren't seeing what was happening.
Yeah. And so now we're in a situation where it's like, now it's us versus them or them versus us or whatever the case is. And it's like, I've got family members that are just like, they post some of the craziest nonsense on both sides. And I'm just like, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. But you can't argue with them. And it's like, people are going to vote for who they're going to vote for. I remember growing up, my parents were very much, all right, mom, dad, who'd y'all vote for? It's none of your damn business.
Yeah.
None of your business. It's my business. That's how I wish it was still, but there's just too much money to be made by saying some of the things that are being said. And then you go back and you look at where we're at today and it's like, okay, the nation, democracy, whatever you want to call it, had a very, very loud voice Tuesday night. And they said, we're tired of the shit.
Oh, yeah.
We're not buying it no more. We're done. We're not listening to this nonsense jarb about whatever. And it wasn't just white people.
You see the Latino vote?
The Latino vote, the black vote, like it was a resounding flip. You look at the state of Texas, who a lot of people thought was a swing state, kind of, and that there was a chance of flipping it.
Texas.
You go and you look at the Rio Grande border, the Rio Grande Valley, most of the Democrat counties flipped red. I think there's 2 that stayed blue. And it was close. It was very close.
It goes back to, I was actually having a conversation the other day, election day with another agent who, it goes back to how you grew up. Like a lot of Latinos are just taught to be Democrat. Like you don't even know what technically it is. You're not really deep diving into the policies or what they're all about. You're just, oh, my grandma's did this, my mom's did this, I have to do it too. And
the same thing can be said for conservatives.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. I was just using that because that was that example. But I feel like on both sides, people were just, again, popularity contest. Which person do I like better? Not what they're going to do for our country or what they're going to do for us or whatever that might be. It's just like, who do I like better and who does my family say I got to vote for? I personally wish they would just get rid of the parties and just have the people run and you pick them based on their policies, not the party. I feel like if they did away with that, people would not be voting Democrat or Republican just because, oh, I have to vote blue, I have to vote red. They're going to vote for the person based on the person. And I know that's not possible, but I just wish they would do that. But
I find it interesting because I was actually talking to a friend of mine that just ran for Congress in Bexar County a couple of days ago, the night of the election, actually. And I asked him what he thought was going to happen. And he called it Trump by 10. And he asked me what I thought. And I said, it's going to be Trump by 40. And he was like, what? I was like, I look at the temperature of the country. I look at the economics. I look at the markets. I look at how people are doing now versus 4 years ago. And I was just like, there's just no way they go back. And it's interesting because if you look at just the state of this country, and I talk to a lot of people and a lot of different demographics. And if you look at certain demographics of financially, even the people that are middle class, if it even exists, the wealthy, the poor, the lower class, they were all saying the same things. Like, we can't afford 4 more years of similar policies. The idea of price capping, that's absurd. That would never work. It would never happen. But to throw that out there, there's not corporate price gouging because, yes, you can show me all these graphs. But at the end of the day, you can't tell me that the cost of goods and services on the wholesale side, the production side, did not go up, therefore impacting corporations to raise. And when you want to target wealthy people and you want to tax them out of their boots, do you understand who pays 90% of all taxes in this country? It's the wealthy people. If you want to understand who employs 100% of the workforce, it's wealthy people or upper middle class. They've got to be able to make money to pay their people. Now, you want to change some policies to incentivize them to pay more? Sign me up. You want to increase the federal minimum wage to a realistic number? Let's have a conversation. But it wasn't having a conversation. It was, this is what we're doing. I don't care.
Yeah.
We're doing, and it's like, politics has become such a game of who can be the most popular, who can get the most Instagram followers, Twitter followers. Because interestingly enough, when this buddy of mine ran for Congress, and I've had a couple of conversations with him about it, and he said a lot of the same things. He's like, these people that get on social media that trash each other back and forth, right and left, for the sake of social media, for the sake of their followers, for the sake of their electorate or whatever.
People like drama. Yeah.
They're going to turn around that night and go to dinner together.
Oh, yeah.
Those dudes are cuñados. They're buddies. They don't care. Like, they're just, hey, look, this is what, they got a PR team. They know what drives engagement. You look at, like, when people post things like hashtag this, hashtag that, they tag things and by tag, whatever it's called, thumbnails on YouTube video. It's just for engagement. To get as many people to look as possible, because that's how they make money. And these politicians know that. they're the experts at it. So when you have a politician that's making $120,000 a year salary, but their net worth is $1.7 million, how do you think they got there?
Pelosi.
Well, no, she's worth like 30 million or something like that. But it's just, it's all about, it's become a money game. And I think reforming the campaign finance side of things would be massive. But at the end of the day, we have to understand democracy played out at the highest level. And if you keep going down the same path you're going down, talking about the left side, you're going to continue to lose. You got 2 or 3 candidates on the Republican side lined up in 4 years that one for sure would absolutely devastate another election. Ron DeSantis. The dude is the next president. Then you got JD Vance, who has, against my better judgment, I didn't like him. Man, that dude's pretty good.
No, he's pretty smart. I think he's going to be the next president. We'll see how he does as vice president.
A Joe Biden, JD Vance thing where it's not this cycle, but the next cycle. Like Joe Biden missed a cycle.
Skipped a cycle. And then,
because Ron DeSantis, what he's doing in Florida is unbelievable. And you look at what makes it even worse is I saw a post today where several people were hashtagging North Carolina or Hurricane Helene, saying all those people that voted for Trump, I hope it happens to you again. And it's like, why do you think you lost?
Yeah.
Like, maybe bring the rhetoric back. Maybe calling somebody Hitler every 37 seconds isn't a winning notion. Maybe calling someone fascist, like, because that's not fascism.
Yeah.
It's crazy because I look at, I've been all over the world. I've seen tons of different types of political environments, from the Middle East to Europe. And it's like, you have no idea how lucky you are.
Yeah, people 100%.
I mean, Hamas would absolutely annihilate a lot of the people that cheer for them.
Yeah.
And it's, and there is no freedom of speech in other places. There's no reproductive rights in the other places.
Like no women's rights, period.
No women's rights, period. Yeah. They can't even vote in a lot of these places. It's like, man, like if you just understood what fascism really, again, not to go down a political rabbit hole, it's just the rhetoric, everything that's being said, the consternation, the constant division. That is what won Donald Trump a re-election, which is crazy to think about. It wasn't based on policy, which, look, at the end of the day, 4 years ago, we were in a much better place.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people were voting against Donald Trump because women's rights. And I think they realized that that's all powered to the states. Like,
don't get me down that rabbit hole, because I don't think people understand that there was absolutely nothing a Harris presidency could have done.
Well, that's why I think
it's gone. It's done.
I think that's why people finally realize that whether they vote for Harris or whether they vote for Trump, the women's rights are all up to the states. It's not going to change Supreme Court anything decision at all.
You can't put a federal mandate in. The Supreme Court decision has been made. It's done. And it's interesting to me because regardless of how you fall on the reproduction rights side of it, the states go to whichever state best suits your needs within the rights of the law. But what's funny is you look at the pro-life movement. I don't have an exact number because I saw it a couple of weeks ago. I don't remember, but majority of the activism is on the women's side.
Oh yeah,
it's women.
Yeah. So
it's not men making these decisions; it's elected officials that are being voted in by these people.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I don't know enough about it to put an opinion
that's why
on
I don't
it.
really talk a whole lot about
and
it.
I don't really want to go down that rabbit hole, but it's like, man, like this is what democracy is about. It's a fundamental right to choose who you want to be representing you. And if you don't like it, there's other places you can go where they can. And what's bad is that those other places you can go are too expensive to live in. People can't afford to live there. So they come here. And it's like,
you're in the wrong place.
But you left that place because of the way it was run to come here because it's run better and it's more affordable. It's just a tough thing all around. All I want to say on this before we wrap this up is that if you have a friend that goes one way or the other, forget about it.
That's what I was going to say. We can all still get along.
There's no reason, because I have friends that are Trump supporters. I have friends that are Harris supporters. I have friends that are hardcore liberal.
Same.
I have friends with the LGBTQIA plus community. I have friends in the Hispanic community,
Same.
friends in the Black community. I have a friend of mine that was in a Kamala Harris commercial, and I texted him to make sure I was looking at the right person.
How much do you get paid for that?
I don't know. I don't care.
Listen, how much do you get paid for that?
No, nothing. I wish I had. But I'm proud of him because I know his background. I know it is Pastor Carl. And I know how hard he works for his people. I know how much he goes out and he organizes and he helps his youth. He lives in Philly. And I don't care if he was in the Harris commercial.
Yeah.
That's my boy. That I would, if he called me right now and said, I need you to come to Philly right now, something's going on, I would get up from this podcast and get on a plane and go help him.
Yeah.
Because I don't care. But there are a lot of people that don't like me because I don't fall in line with one political party or other.
I've seen your social media.
It's insane.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, you're still my friend. I got a friend in Houston that is very much liberal and very much pro Harris. And it's like some of the things that they've been posting lately, it's like, dude, this is why you lost. At some point, get your hand off the stove because you're just going to keep getting burned. And I just want everybody to understand that politics doesn't make up friendships. Politics doesn't create family. It's a crazy conversation at Thanksgiving, but at the end of the day, your friends, your family, they mean more than any politician out there, regardless of who's in office. I said this 4 years ago. I said it 8 years ago. I said it on Wednesday, or Tuesday, no matter who wins, I'm going to get up. I'm going to work my ass off. I'm going to make my money. I'm going to build my gym. I'm going to make sure my family's protected. I'm going to make sure my family is well off and set up. And it doesn't matter. If things get tough, things get tough. You work through it. You figure it out. Put your boots on, keep on trucking.
100%. I was thinking the same way as like, I didn't care. I mean, obviously I cared who won, but at the end of the day, if the other side won, I would have been, life goes on. Don't even think about it another second. Like, there's some people out there that, oh yeah, Trump won, and they have to like keep gloating and all that stuff. I'm not even about that. I'm like, hey, we won, move on. Like, we know what's going to happen. Like, we don't need to keep talking about it. I'm actually kind of tired of all the drama it's all social media. That's all it is. That's what creates the division. Everybody says, oh, Trump creates the division. No, it's just the media, social media, just making it look how bad Trump is, because he does say some stupid stuff. But at the end of the day, we're all one country. We should all unite, not continue to divide. And I think actually at this point, I think we're going to be better off than we were the first time Trump won. I think we're going to unite way more.
And what's crazy about it is if you look at how it has set up over the last, 6 to 8 months, we're still the freest country in the world.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And I mean, at the end of the day, do what you got to do, focus on what you can control, and keep moving forward. What do we got 45 days or so left, 50 days or so left, 60 days, 50 days until the end of the year. What do you see playing out the rest of this year on the real estate market going into next year? What are you kind of seeing on your pipeline?
So I feel like it's kind of the same, in my opinion. People that need to sell or need to buy are really the only ones doing anything right now. I feel like it'll probably continue that way for the rest of the year. For the most part, I feel like January is pretty slow. I feel like January this year is going to be a lot busier than it has in a couple of years, because people have been just sitting on the sideline waiting, and they're going to come back into the market now, which is going to carry over into January. This is kind of my thoughts are. I feel like as far as like this month, people just automatically jumping in. No, they're not like going to just flip a switch on. Oh, the president's elect. Because again, at the end of the day, you still got a couple months before even anything changes. It doesn't affect anything. So I think that it's going to decline a little bit, and then it's going to shoot back up in January. This is kind of my opinion. And then that's when prices are going to start to go, I'm going to say way back up, but they're going to start to climb back up.
Yeah, I think that I agree with you 100%. And I'm hoping it kind of does slow down a little bit just because I want to take a break in December a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, the market's definitely heating up, I feel like.
Yeah.
A lot more traffic. Now, again, there's the new construction side of it that's been pretty stale, but the resale side is pretty strong. I think January, February is going to be booming. And I think you're going to see a force just with the new government in place, a force to push, not like it was in COVID year with the 2.5% interest rates where those rates were fabricated. I do think you're going to see a fabricated decrease. I think you're going to see them push the Fed to push their numbers.
I think we'll be in the low fives.
I bet mid fours by mid year. So? And I think people need to understand with lower interest rates come higher prices. Yep. So knowing that and knowing what's out there for buy downs is very important, which is why I tell people, make sure you have a contact with a realtor or a lender that can help you navigate that. We got 50 days left. What's your goals look like?
Kill a couple deer. So right now, this has actually been my best year within the last 3 years, I guess you could say. Again, a lot of realtors saying that's their worst year, jumping out of the business. For us, I think because we're just doubling in down on what's working, we're not really just scared and holding back. It's been my best year. So far, I normally do about 25 deals a year, right around 10 million. I'm at 30 deals right now and just under 12 million. So I do want to try to push and see if I can get up to maybe 14, 15. It's going to be a little tough just because this is pretty much the last month to do anything before the next year, because everything else after that is going to be in January. Right. But really, I'm more focused already on planning for next year. That's kind of where my goal's at. Whatever happens this year happens, but my goal is to start working with all my clients that have kind of been on the sideline, kind of just waiting and building that pipeline going into next year. That's what I'm really focused on right now. And honestly, like you said, kind of taking it just a little bit easy, because I know when it picks up, I'm going to work 7 days a week because I love to do it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like going into October, I was starting to get a little worried. Or no, really, end of September. Not that I didn't have a good year. I had a great year. It was just kind of like, man, this is really slow. And then all of a sudden, October went nuts. And it wasn't just like normal. It was like quick, fast. We want to close in 30 days inside of October. I was
more buyers or more sellers?
Both.
Oh, okay.
Both. And the sellers, I put them on the market. They'd go under contract immediately. So it was like, and then I had a lot of problem properties, like issues, like properties that just weren't selling, go under contract, and they were cash buyers.
I'm starting to get that now.
Really quick. I think it was that third quarter push. A lot of LLCs getting involved with big cash purchases. So I think we're going to see it, again, it's cyclical. I think we're in a little bit of a down spot. I think it's coming back pretty strong right now. The team, I've been watching team numbers. The team is absolutely killing it. So shout out to all the agents. Shout out to the agents who made the top 5 in October. I know the ladies are kicking y'all's ass. Yes. I say y'all, not me. Y'all. They are killing it. So shout out to the ladies on the team. Absolutely unbelievable. I'm going to come short of my goal this year. My goal was 30. I didn't think I was going to get to 25. I think I'll wrap it up around 26, 27.
You mean 27 million, right?
Yeah.
That's what it, yeah.
My hope is, we've got this new gym fixing to break ground here on Monday, and that's going to probably eat up a lot of my time the rest of the year. So my hope is it does kind of slow down a little bit. I've got a really badass listing coming up in Alamo Ranch. That'll be live next Friday, and that thing should fly. And that's probably one of the last deals I'll take on as in terms of new listings until after the first of the year, just because I want to get this gym off the ground. It's going to be an awesome place. We're building a new gym in Lavernia called Silo Fit. Obviously, we already have a gym there. We've outgrown it. We're going to an 8,000 square foot facility. It's going to be a fully functional outdoor training area, group fitness studio, and an open.
Is there going to be like cows and stuff like that out there?
Absolutely not. But right across the street, there's some horses. So okay. You'll see.
Yeah. I'm actually doing 2 flips right now. I got 2 going on that hopefully we can get them under class.
The first time?
No. I mean, I actually did pretty well. I remember
pretty good.
We made about 40K, which not bad for my first one.
That's not bad at all.
The next, we were originally going to list it, I think at 450. We ended up listing it at 500. Just see what happens. And it sold for 480. So we did pretty well. These 2 I'm not doing with that partner, but ultimately, these 2 should be pretty well as well. I mean, I feel like there are a lot of good investment opportunities out there right now.
There are. You got to be careful though, because there is a lot of investor buyers in the marketplace.
Oh
Right now.
yeah,
It's
that's,
so
I feel like that's all I'm
wild.
getting right now. Like, I I feel like I when I post an investment property, 15 people in like a day, but I post a regular resale home and it takes a while. But investment properties, there are so many out there, and a lot of wholesalers, a lot of
Yeah.
wholesalers.
Yeah.
Yeah. But ultimately, yeah, this is my first year doing a couple flips and I feel like it's going to work out well. I feel like now's the time. I feel like in a year's time, it's going to be a lot harder because the market's going to go way back up unless I hold these and then try to resell them. But, I like doing flips. It's, a good way to make some extra money for sure.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I cut my teeth with flips, and now I've got 3 or 4 flippers that I work with, and they're all blowing me up, all but one of them for new projects. And it's hard to find good projects with good margins because you're only going to do 1 or 2 at a time, so you want bigger margins
Yeah.
because they're still really expensive. I mean, it's you flips aren't cheap, and
Yeah.
cost of materials up, labor prices are up, which will probably go up a little bit more. So I think a lot of good stuff is coming. I really think everybody needs to check out the previous episode going over the NAR lawsuit, because I'm still getting a lot of
I'll
questions.
link it
It was
somewhere.
actually interesting because I was saying earlier, I did a little speaking engagement for Veterans Day at the KW City View office, and you had mentioned something about agents struggling, and there were a lot of agents in
Mhm.
there that were just like, man, what are you doing? How do you do this? How can I make my business more efficient? So just asking you, because I know how I do my business. What makes your business so efficient? I get it. We're part of a team and we have a good CRM that I still don't know how to use yet. But outside of that, what do you do to make your business so efficient?
So it's really systems. Like you got to have a process for everything. I feel like the majority of agents nowadays are told, "Oh, just go do social media. Go do social media." I feel like everybody is doing that.
You're not a content creator, by the
Yeah.
way. You're not a content creator.
And
Stop.
and honestly, that's what I even started doing early on. And yeah, it helps to market as like a supplement to your actual job, but it's not something that you're going to get business with. I mean, it's going to take at least a year or two to even get one deal. And I actually have a lot of friends that are even new agents this year. And I asked them like, "Oh, so how's it going? What are y'all doing?" They're like, "Well, I'm out there doing videos of new construction homes." I'm like, "Okay, like have you got any leads or anything like that?" And they're like, "Well, no, but I just keep being told to keep doing it and it'll come." I'm like, "Yeah, you keep doing it for like a couple of years, or you got to put a lot of money behind it." So
We learned that.
yeah. So I feel like just getting down to the absolute basics as far as like talking to people, setting a certain amount of people to talk each day, and having like a schedule and actually following through with that schedule and not trying to do all the fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like this business to be successful, you got to do all the boring, monotonous stuff, and that's what's going to make you successful. And having a system, like a plan, wake up at the same time every day and go through as it's a business. It's not just a hobby. I know a lot of realtors out there who just kind of wake up when they want and, oh, let me get on social media. Let me maybe check in with a couple people. But no, you got to have a plan of like, all right, I'm going to talk to this many people a day. Or if it's not even that many people a day, I'm a prospect for 2 hours a day at a minimum. And if I'm not prospecting, I'm not doing showings. I'm not doing appointments. If I'm not doing appointments, I'm not doing showings, I'm prospecting. And people that are not getting business are not prospecting. That's it. Because at the end of the day, people are going to buy and sell real estate every single day for the rest of our lives. You just got to know who's going to be doing business in this economy. I feel like it's a lot of investors. I feel like it's a lot of people going through divorces, unfortunately. Like, I feel like that's probably the number one thing that I'm getting right now is a lot of people, again, we do a lot of online lead sources. And I feel like people are going or wanting to sell their houses because they're going through divorces, or the two main ones I'm getting are going through divorces or people that had kids and they have to get a bigger house. Those are the two main things that I'm getting right now. So it's really just, instead of just, oh, let me just go post all over social media, focusing on the people that are going to do business today.
Yeah, I think we were talking about it earlier in that deal, and realtors ask me, all the time, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? It's not my CRM. It's not my lead gen. It's not my prospecting, it's my calendar.
Mm.
The biggest thing I've learned that made me successful outside of leverage, I've got Amy, I've got Brenda, I've got Ashley, I've got Luvi. It's my calendar. Everything I do in my calendar has 2 alerts. It sends me 2 notifications. It sends me an email 24 hours before and an email 2 hours before, no matter what it is. If I'm going to meet some friends for some drinks, if I'm doing a podcast, if I'm going to do a speaking engagement, if I'm going on a listing appointment or a buyer's tour, 24 hours before, 2 hours before. And then not only do I have it in my calendar, but now I've got it in my email. And everything that comes into my email is a task. It has to be done. Once it's done, it moves out of my inbox into a folder assigned to that specific thing. For example, if I have a listing appointment tomorrow at 2:00, at 2:00 today, right now, I would have just gotten an email saying listing appointment tomorrow at 2:00. Great. It stays there. The next day, 2 hours before that appointment, I get another email. Listing appointment, client, phone number, address. 2 hours from now. Cool. The 24-hour one goes into a folder for that client.
Mm.
Then I go to the appointment. I get home. I go to my email. Okay, what emails do I need to clear? All right, that appointment's taken care of. Move it over to the folder. Go to the CRM. Log it. Set, met, conversation. Bam, submit. Done. Now it's gone. That way, if I ever have to go back and say, when did I meet with that client? Go to my email. Open up that folder. There it is. Title commitment. Get the title commitment. If it's still there, review the title commitment. Make sure the restrictions are right. Make sure that, whatever's in there I need to make sure is right. When I'm done reviewing it, reply with approved, move it over to that folder. That's my calendar and my to-do list. And that, I think, is the number one thing, especially in a market that I feel is about to really, really, really launch, is the best way for an agent to be successful right now. And
have a system.
It's a system.
You have to have a system.
Systems.
Can't just wing it.
Systems and leverage, man. That's what it's going to take to really stay ahead of everybody else, because very few agents have good systems.
If you're winging the business, you are not going to make it, unfortunately. Like, you need systems, and easiest way to do that is get a mentor. Like, I know you had some thoughts about coaches we've talked about in the past.
I don't have a problem with mentors.
Yeah, that's it. Get a mentor.
Meh.
Yeah.
And they didn't like that this morning. Coaches, meh. Mentors, absolutely.
Yeah, just get someone that you can ask questions to, even if it's just on a team like this. Like, we have a channel where you can go and ask 1,000 questions if you want, and that's what it's there for.
There's no dumb questions.
Yeah, it's called No Dumb Questions. But but ultimately, get somebody that you can, like, don't reinvent the wheel. Go to somebody that's already doing it. Most agents that are high producing have no problem helping somebody that comes for them help,
or have no problem asking questions.
That too. Yeah.
I still ask questions all the time, and I've got a ton of experience. I still
I thought you knew everything.
No, there's still quite a bit that I don't know that I have to ask. The only person I won't ask is Kendall.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm not asking her nothing. And come after November, we may not talk to each other.
I don't know.
After the end of this month, we may not talk to each other.
The Aggie?
When we won, they'll whip their ass.
Yeah. I don't even think they're going to show up.
They may not. They may be
but ultimately, boils down, you want to be successful, systems. That's the main thing. And it's not like you're going to get systems overnight. Like, it for me, it took a while. I still don't have a system for everything, and I'm still going to be building the business for probably my whole career. Like, I feel like if you're not growing, you're not going to go anywhere. You got to be growing all the time. And if you want to be super successful, grow a team, and hopefully not have to prospect every day, not have to go chasing leads all the time, having the systems to stay with your past clients and keep in touch with everybody. And eventually that business will just start coming as a repeat referral, and you're going to retire happy.
100%. There's no doubt about it. I wanted to get into sports, but I'm kind of depressed about the state of my Cowboys and the Walrus at a bye. So I don't think I really want to go down the sports path today.
Well, that's fine. I have a lot to say, but not really. Kind of just more sadness. Like, Longhorns are doing well.
Oh yeah.
I'm still a little scared. Only the A&M game, to be honest. And And the only reason why is just because how bad Ewers has been playing.
Coming off an injury, he's going to.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about that game at all. I'm worried about Arkansas. I don't know why. Maybe it's because just 2 or 3 years ago we put up 52 yards against.
I'm just worried more because of the rivalry. That's mainly it. And when it comes to rivalry games,
I'm not one. I don't know why people think I am. I'm not one to get to call games and guarantee games and get hyped up. Say this team's going to because just football is such a. It is such. There's so much. What is the word I'm looking for? I can't even think of the word I'm looking for, but there's anything can happen in football.
Yeah.
All it takes is one person to get injured or one play to go awry or whatever. Like there's just anything can happen.
I just got PTSD from Michael Crabtree. That's it.
Oh, that's Texas Tech.
Yeah,
They
but
don't
I'm
have
just
a
saying.
I'm not.
But we
worried
were
about Texas.
dominating that year, and we just come and lose to this.
For whatever reason. But Tech was a good team that year.
They were okay.
They were a 10-win team that year. I'm not even remotely worried about A&M. I think they're in a really bad place right now. They just lost their starting running back, who was pretty
Did he
much
break his leg?
He's out for the season. He was pretty much their offense. You're going against a Texas team that is giving up the largest yards per play in the nation. Or the smallest yards per play.
I was like, that's not good.
3.8 yards per play, which is the lowest in the nation by like a yard. Like this team is good.
Yeah.
Now, can they play top tier talent? That worries me. I was nervous going to the Georgia game. I didn't expect them to win that game. I didn't expect them to get their ass kicked like they did in that game.
Mm.
But when you have 3 turnovers and you give Georgia the ball inside the 30 3 times, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
And all 3 touchdowns that Georgia scored was from inside the 30. They only crossed half field 3 times. And of those 3 times, they kicked a field goal once and punted twice.
Yeah.
So I'm not overly concerned about it. I wasn't really worried about the Vanderbilt game because that game was at hand. A lot of backups were in. They would have had enough time to come back anyways. They put boots to ass against Vanderbilt for most of that game anyways.
What do you think about the playoffs? Do you it looks like we're probably, if it stays how it is, we're gonna play Boise State maybe the first round?
Probably, but I think we're gonna jump. I mean, you run the table, you're probably moving up to 3 or 4, especially if you do it handily. I think the only reason Texas is still at 5 is because they don't have their last couple of games outside of Oklahoma weren't dominant victories and the loss to Georgia. But you dominate Florida, you dominate Arkansas, you dominate A&M, you're going to be 2 or 3 because you got some losses in there on some of those top tier teams. You know, you look at Oregon, they're playing really good football right now. They're the team to beat, but Georgia could get beat at any time. They almost lost last
I think
week.
Miami's up there.
Miami is just begging to get their ass kicked. Like they just keep struggling. And the further in the season they go, they struggle. I'm just not worried about that Texas Tech. I may end up kicking myself in my own ass, and I'll be at that game. And you better believe I'll be burnt orange F out. Like I don't even care. I don't even care. I don't care.
That's going to be a great game. The last time we played was what, 2011?
2011.
Turkey? Thanksgiving Day? Was it Thanksgiving Day?
Ridiculously bad quarterback beat their first round pick, Ryan Tannehill. It was Justin Tucker, 40-yard field goal to win the game and send A&M off to the SEC to go right back where they were at the Big 12. Anyways, that's going to wrap it for today because I have an appointment that I have to get to. And man, I'm glad to be back on the air. We're glad to be able to drop another episode. I hope y'all tuned into the last episode because that was an absolute killer episode. My audio is kind of funky in it because we just couldn't get the mics right. We were trying some new things and we did not want to re-record it because it was so organically good about NAR and how it's impacting people and what to look for and how to protect yourself. So definitely tune into that one, tune into this one, and we will be dropping some more episodes over the next couple of weeks. We definitely want to finish the year strong with some episodes and gear up for 2025. And for Chris Jacobs and
Carlos Kopszywa,
we appreciate y'all tuning in.
see y'all in the next one.